Hello and welcome to Between the Lines. Coming up on today's show, we sit down and talk with the swim team and women's field hockey team. Steve Weiss and I sit down and discuss what happened over the weekend with KU sports, take a dive with Brady and learn how to swim, and finally spotlight a KU athlete. Stay tuned. Welcome to Inside the Locker Room. I'm your host, Hunter Velke. Joining me today is Coach Tim Flannery and Charlotte Owens of the swim team. Thank you guys for sitting down with me today.
Thanks for having us.
So far this season, you guys have a record of 2-2. How's the outlook on the season so far?
Pretty good. I think that it's a good chance that we can have another winning season this year. And but the most important thing for us is to keep moving up the PSAC ladder in February. Mm-hmm. So but everything is going well so far.
How do you feel about the season, Charlotte?
It's going really well. He's training us pretty hard, so we should be very prepared for F&M, which is where most of us get our PSAC cuts, and then PSACs will be prepared.
Now, Coach Flannery, you've been around Kutztown for a while now. What's changed since your time since starting here at Kutztown?
Oh, wow. Quite a few things. It's just, the one thing that I notice every single day is how built up the campus has been since 1996. But, there's been a few other. There's been, changes in our swimming program. We lost our men's program 10 years ago. That's probably been the most dramatic. But, training is still training. And, things kind of remain the same over the few years, but it's just you got to coach in different ways.
Now, Charlotte, what do you compete in when you get into the pool for a match?
I mainly blank out, kind of. I know that coach has prepared me well enough, and I can just let my body take over. And if I get inside my head too much, I freak out, and it's not good for swimming. So I know coach has prepared me well, so I just get in the race or in the pool and race.
Now, what's the atmosphere like in the locker room, being that it is a very individualized sport, but it's also a team sport at the end of the day?
Yeah, that's one of the things is that when, like for this weekend, we have a swim meet against Millersville, is preparing a lineup, and it's my job and my assistant coach's job to basically look at that opposing lineup and basically try to plan it where we can win the meet. That's the first priority. And then after that, we're looking at the girls or individual times, trying to get them qualified for the PSAC championship. So, and then when we go to F&M, that's a different type of meet altogether. It's a trial final meet, which kind of simulates our PSAC championship, but that's a completely different beast altogether.
Now, how do you guys interact in the locker room together, Charlotte?
It is an individual sport, so you are in your own head. You're thinking, I have to do this, I have to do that, but you have your team supporting you. It's not really a competition between us girls. It's more of a support system. So at the end of the day, we all high-five each other after hard sets. We're not mad at each other for someone going faster. It's a very supportive atmosphere.
Now, what's more important when it comes to swimming? Is it the prep outside of the pool that you put in, or is it the prep in the pool?
It's both. It really is. Swimming, we started up in September. We're a winter sport, but we go in the season. We went into season on September 3rd, day after Labor Day this year. So the thing is that you're going to get physically broken down, beaten up, but then outside the pool, it's the same thing. You can't go, as I tell the girls, you can't go crazy. You have to get your rest. Sleep is very, very important. Because if they're going to run their immune system down naturally. And the thing is that if you're going crazy, it's going to be even worse, and you can end up sick most of the season. So that's one of the things. But also, too, the head game, the mental game. You got to stay in it, and it's tough.
Now, one thing I know about swimmers is that a lot of times, like Michael Phelps and stuff, once he's done swimming, he doesn't like to get in the pool for a while. Is that the same thing for you, Charlotte? Do you enjoy like family events and stuff? Do you not, like if there's a pool, you're at the beach, do you enjoy swimming and outside of events that isn't swimming practice and stuff like that?
Yeah, if I can avoid getting in a pool, I will. It's just I have 2.5 hours every day in a pool, but if all my friends are at the pool, I'll get in.
Now on Saturday, November 9th, you guys take on Millersville. What do you see for this matchup? Is it going to be a good one? Or?
It should be a good one. I think that we should be able to win this meet, but we're going to have to perform to do it.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for Inside the Locker Room. Once again, I would like to thank my guests, Coach Tim Flannery and Charlotte Owens of the swim team. We'll be back after this short commercial break.
At Kutztown, you'll grow, not into someone new, but into yourself. At your best, there's no limit to what you can do.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Joining me now is Assistant Coach Corinne McConville and Mackenzie Furman of the women's field hockey team. Thank you guys for sitting down with me today. On Tuesday, the field hockey team took on the 10th-ranked Mansfield in the PSAC quarterfinals and came out with a big 2-0 win. How did it feel to play in that game?
It felt great to play in that game. The support in the stands were awesome. We had a lot going for us. We were ranked 3rd, moved to 5th, which was it was okay. But just the energy of the team, knowing that it was our first playoff game and that we had to win to continue was really great. The energy was high, and we knew we had to get a win, and we did just that.
Now, what was it like on the sideline, Corinne?
It was really exciting. The girls worked so hard all year, and it's just really nice to see that the payoff is finally coming. It's a really good time to start peaking during the season.
Now, what kind of emotions are going through the team's head at this point in the season right now with championships and stuff like that coming up?
Definitely nerves are one of the emotions, but nerves are a good thing just because that means you care. So I think nerves, energy, like I said before, and just knowing that this is one of the last opportunities that we get to play as a team and a family. So it's just overall really exciting.
Now, how did it feel? The other week you guys took on Millersville and came out with a huge double overtime win. How did that feel for the team? Because you guys haven't beat Millersville in almost 4 years now.
Right. So since I've been here, we haven't beat Millersville, so it was an awesome win for us. And it really boosted us in PSAC play just because it really took us to that next level and made us a contender. So that was such a good win for us. And how do you feel, Corinne?
And it was actually shootouts. It was the first time we've ever participated in shootouts, so it was really like, it was a perfect time to test the amount of pressure we could really take, and coming out on top was like super important, and it carried us into the rest of our season.
Now, what is the most difficult part about playing field hockey?
Well, there's a ton of factors that are difficult. One factor is that we play 60 minutes, so that's like a pretty long game, and you have to keep your fitness up to maintain high energy on the field. I also think, what else is hard?
We have this thing, they're kind of like power plays. They're called corners. So when you make a foul close to the goal cage, it's kind of like you take on 7 of their players and you only get 4. So that's also like kind of like a weird disadvantage.
Now, what are some other sports that field hockey takes from that makes the sport of it, from like other sports like soccer, lacrosse, other things like that? What does it take from what kind of things?
I think the general rules of field hockey kind of start with soccer. Very much so, offense versus defense, same number of players on the field, except we don't have offsides. So we're allowed to have as many girls behind their defense at all times, which is really cool. It allows us to have a lot of offensive opportunities. And I think lacrosse, it adds in the element of a stick, but ours is obviously on the ground instead of in the air.
Yeah, and we're very unique in a sense that we only have right-handed sticks. So there's like a strong side of the field and a weak side of the field. So tactically we're like soccer, but like we have a very, very different game plan.
Now on Friday, November 8th, you guys will take on number 1 ranked Westchester in Westchester. What is the team? How is the team preparing for this matchup?
Luckily, we were just able to play Westchester last week, so we know the tempo of the game, we know the surface that we're playing on, and we were able to put 2 goals in against them. So if we come out strong, like we know how to play, then we'll be ready to take them on and win, because they are undefeated right now, so they're due for a loss.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting.
Well, once again, I would like to thank my guests, Corinne McConville and Mackenzie Furman of the field hockey team. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Want some new KU merch? Keep your eyes on the ball. Every Monday after a home football game, you get an additional 5% off all Kutztown apparel at the KU campus store for every touchdown we score, starting at 15%. Win or lose. That's 15, 20, 25, all the way up to 40% off all Kutztown apparel. The sale can be used in-store or on the website, kubstore.com.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Weekend Update. I'm your host, Stephen Weiss, along with Hunter Velicki. Ton of sports action to get into this week, so let's hop right into it with football. They were at Westchester, and for the fourth time in Kutztown University football history, the Golden Bears are Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference Eastern Division champions. Quarterback Colin DeGalbo threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Abdul Hassan Neblet rushed for 103 yards and a pair of scores.
The defense held on for a huge 4th and 4 with Westchester inside the 10 at the start of the 4th quarter as the 17th-ranked Kutztown emerged from John A. Farrell Stadium with a 30-17 victory over the 22nd-ranked Golden Rams Saturday afternoon.
The Golden Bears exploited Westchester's defense all afternoon, which was allowing just 293.4 yards and 15.3 points per game for 428 yards and used multiple threats to keep the Golden Rams defense off balance all afternoon.
To Westchester's credit, they'd made halftime adjustments and had the score to 23-10 about halfway through the 3rd quarter.
Right, so this was one of the occasions where we saw someone come back out after halftime and really challenge the Golden Bears, but Kutztown relies on its unbreakable offensive line and battle-tested seniors to put the game away. Neblet ran for 23 yards on the drive, and DeGalbo hooked up with Jerry Cap twice for 75 yards, including a 50-yarder and 25-yard touchdown that restored the Golden Bears' 20-point lead with just 5 minutes and 39 seconds to go.
The Golden Bears will host Millersville this Saturday at 12:05 p.m. before hosting the PSAC championship game on November 16th.
We say it, I feel like every week here, just a very exciting team to watch, and they just keep moving right along. That was a big game, and they came out with the win.
A huge win for them. That was the biggest tense besides Shepherd this year, who they had to play. Westchester was the number 2 ranked team in the PSAC this year, and beating them was going in and beating them at their home stadium.
Exactly.
Huge win for them.
Exactly. And that's tough to do on the road. But once again, Kutztown pulling it out and another victory. And Kutztown University football fans can commemorate the Golden Bears' 2019 PSAC Eastern Division title with official championship gear from the KU campus store. So let's keep things moving right along here with women's field hockey. A bunch of games this past week. They unfortunately suffered a loss against Westchester, but then also there was a game against IUP, which they picked up the win.
The 3rd-ranked Kutztown University field hockey team scored twice in the second half and used a strong defense to take down IUP 2-0 Saturday afternoon at Andre Reed Stadium in the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference action.
Senior Gabby Hess collected her first goal of the season in the 3rd quarter to get KU onto the board after a scoreless first half for both teams. Sophomore Izzy Raydell then gave KU some insurance with her 4th of the year in the 4th quarter. And then a big game Tuesday, November 5th. Their most recent game was against Mansfield.
Sophomore forward Rachel Dunsman scored 2 goals in the 4th-seeded Kutztown University field hockey team shut out the 5th-seeded Mansfield 2-0 Tuesday in a Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference quarterfinal round game at Andre Reed Stadium.
The Golden Bears, who were 13-5 at the time, won their first postseason game since 1988 and also earned their first home playoff victory in program history. So big stuff here.
The crowd was buzzing under the lights, and the KU used that to their advantage. Kutztown created more of the scoring chances and held more possessions. After a scoreless first half, at which KU outshot Mansfield 16-1 and held an 8-0 advantage on penalty corners, it finally broke through in the 3rd quarter with Dunsman coming up large.
The Chambersburg native first tally of the game and 5th of the season came in the 34th minute when she received the ball, took a turn, and fired in a backhanded shot from about 10 yards away to beat the Mounties goalie to break the deadlock. Dustman's 2nd of the night came in the 39th minute when she positioned herself in front of the cage and received a pass from Olivia Blazone to double up the score.
Kutztown will now take on the top seed Westchester in the PSAC semifinals on Friday at Westchester, November 8th at 1 p.m. And what do you think about this game here? What do you think Kutztown needs to do differently? They recently just played Kutztown only last week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so and we had Mackenzie Furman on the program today, and I got to take a look at that, and she was discussing how they sort of know what they're going into with it because they've seen Westchester just recently, so they know what's coming, and they scored 2 goals against them, which was the most goals that had been put up on Westchester so far this season. And like she said on the show, I think that Westchester's due for a loss. I don't know what do you think?
I think that's the whole thing too. They played them recently. They're looking out for revenge this week, and that's the whole thing. That's what they got a driving force behind them. They want to win. Like I said, first time winning a championship, any playoff game since 1988, which is huge for them.
Exactly. And I think they can use that momentum from that huge victory to sort of propel themselves. Also with that revenge factor, like you said, to pick up a big win against Westchester. Let's hope for it. And then let's keep things moving right along here with women's soccer. A couple games this past weekend. The first one being at Bloomsburg. The Kutztown University women's soccer team created more scoring chances than the number 6 Bloomsburg University, but were unable to capitalize on any, falling just short 1-0 last Wednesday night in a PSAC East Division game at Bloomsburg Steph Pettit Stadium.
After a scoreless first half where both teams fired away 7 shots, the host Huskies got into a scoreboard thanks to a header by Nicole Verano in the 50th minute of an off the throw-in on the far sideline by Jessica Milligan.
Senior goalie Jenna Brackett finished the night with 4 saves. Gabby Kane led the team with 4 shots overall, while both Emily Zwerkin and Maggie Searcy totaled 2 shots on net. And then they had another game against Mansfield, lots of games against Mansfield this week, where the offense sort of rebounded from that and completely broke out. Senior forward Emily Zwerkin set a new PSAC conference record and also became the program's all-time leader in career goals as she totaled 6, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but 6 Saturday in a 10-0 win at Mansfield.
Zwerkin's day was also a career high for her goals in a single game. It was also tied a career high with 14 goals in a season. She also tallied 2 assists on the day.
Gabby Kane got the ball rolling early on in the game, just 1:45 in. Zwerkin then scored 3 in a row before 10 minutes were even played, and Kutztown was off and running. Kayla Argan scored in the 11th minute before 2 more tallies from Zwerkin. Freshman Allie Doyle's first career goal in the 34th minute capped the first half, scoring at 8 goals.
Celine Brooks also notched in her first career goal to open the scoring in the second half, and Zwerkin capped the scoring in the 73rd minute. You've got to say, what an impressive performance. That's honestly a 10-0 score in a soccer game. It's something you don't hear that often. It's a very rare feat to have, especially in a sport like that, where it's a low-scoring game.
And just congrats to Emily for doing that. Not only breaking the school's record, but I think we said her setting the PSAC conference record. So not only a school record, but also a conference record.
Yep,
so
we tipped our hats off to her, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Kutztown will be at home for its final 2 games of the regular season. It hosts Lock Haven in its next game on Wednesday, November 6th at 3 p.m. at Keystone Field. And now we're going to have a little bit of time for women's basketball. They actually played 2 D1 teams this week, the first being against Iona.
Junior guard Riley Durr scored the game-high 23 points, and Kutztown led Division I Iona deep into the third quarter before falling 76-70 in an exhibition game at Heinz Center Saturday evening.
Despite a late arrival back in Kutztown after playing on the road at Penn State Friday and a quick turnaround to face the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, Gales less than 24 hours later, the Golden Bears were eager for another chance to improve and clean up some areas of their game that plagued them the night before.
Durr optimized that through the process. The return of the all-conference sharpshooter found her stroke with 8 field goals and was 3 for 8 on 3-point attempts that led all players in scoring. Freshman Casey Romado added 14 points and 9 rebounds, and Karen Lepsinski reached double figures to score second straight with 10 that night.
Unfortunately, they suffered both losses at Penn State and Iona, but they're both only exhibition games, and taking Iona deep into a D1 team, deep into the game like that, I think is a very promising sign for their season.
Yeah, but it's very promising for them. You know, it's only the start of the season, so hopefully they got a lot to look forward to this year.
And I think they do. Their next game is at Lincoln University Friday, November 8th at 8 p.m. And unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for you here for Weekend Update. So stay tuned for more Between the Lines.
It's on us To make sure that everyone knows that if a partner doesn't or can't consent to sex, it's sexual assault.
It's on us to step up and say something.
To not give our friends a pass.
To always be on the side of the survivor.
To realize we have a role to play in stopping sexual assault.
It's on us, the Golden Bear community, to stop sexual assault.
I took the pledge, and you should too, at itsonus.org.
Hello, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Brady Weaver. Today on the show, we have Lindsay Brenneman from the swimming team trying to teach me how to do some professional swimming. Let's see how that goes. All right, so Lindsay, what are you trying to teach me today?
So today we're going to go over the kick, which is, of course, hips down, and then the arms, which is the main way how you get down to the pool. And we're going to try to put it all together and see how it goes.
All right, simple as that. Let's see how that goes. Now I'm going to take everything I learned today and we're going to do a little test to see who is faster, me or her. Let's see. Well, that's all the time we have for halftime. I want to give a huge shout out to Lindsay for coming out today and teaching me how to do the professional swimming. Hopefully next year I'll be able to swim with her. I don't know, we'll see. I'm your host, Brady Weaver. Back to you.
Love KU sports but can't keep up with the games at work? Well, look no further. KU TV posts live updates on your favorite Kutztown sports to the KU TV Sports Twitter page. Even catch a live halftime show featuring Mike Iannacci, Tyler Trumbauer, and Josh Mastramato. Never miss a game again. Stay updated through either watching KU TV when we go live for games or through the Twitter page KU TV Sports.
My name is Lindsay Brenneman. I am from Dover, Pennsylvania. I'm right now studying biology allied health, and I'm also currently a member on the swim team. I swim distance, and that ranges from the 200 freestyle all the way up to the 1650. And I also swim a little bit of butterfly, and that's the 100 and 200 butterfly. My strongest event is probably actually the 1000 freestyle. A major professional swimmer I look up to is Katie Ledecky. She put distance swimming on the map for women's. So in Tokyo of 2020, this will be the first year that the mile will be open for women. I did get recruited by my coach. I got recruited my junior year in high school. Well, especially the night before, my main ritual is eating a lot of carbs. So like I just eat pasta, and then when I wake up, I like to stretch and listen to electrical music, especially. One of my major artists is definitely Skrillex, which is kind of, I guess, the generic for electrical music. My most memorable swimming moment would probably have to be actually this past season. I broke a huge barrier in the 500 free. So my goal for when I was going to graduate was a 5:10, and I crushed it and did a 5:07, and I bawled my eyes out. So that's probably my most memorable moment. My greatest accomplishment is actually probably placing top 10 PSACs in 3 out of my 4 events. Hopefully after I graduate graduate school, I would like to be a physician's assistant. My dream job is actually a pediatrician. I love working with kids. They make me so happy. The toughest opponent in PSAC in general is Westchester, but for Kutztown, it's probably East Stroudsburg or Cal U. I'm a big fan of horror movies, so I would have to say it's called Crazy Eights. It's released way, way, way back. Yeah. In my free time, I really like to bake. I love baking. I really like to bake cookies, which I know is really generic, but I like making shortbread of sugar cookies and then like using like the cookie cutters to make different shapes. Especially around Halloween, like I like doing little ghosts and then like pumpkins and then of course Christmas. I'm hoping to graduate on time. Right now I have 13 credits I still need to take and I only have room for 12, so I'm gonna take some summer classes. So my worst memory in swimming is having to do a swim off in the 400 IM. So I dropped a lot of time in the 400 IM, but the other girl really added, so we all know who won. I don't think I really have a favorite type of music. I mean, like today's hits is like what I listen to, so like Post Malone, a little bit Lady Gaga. What I like to do after a big victory with the team is like we just start just blasting music either on the van or on the bus on the way home, but on the way home, how I celebrate victory is I get really sugary things to eat, so like French toast sticks from Sheetz. My favorite TV show is definitely Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters. So one ghost encounter I've had where I work at home, so I work for Dover Area Recreational, so like I do summer playgrounds, so I watch kids during the daytime and they play on the playground stuff. And we were putting things back in our storage room and I felt like all this static around my ear. And my coworker looks up and I had a ponytail at the time and my hair was sticking straight out to the side and then it just dropped. I was freaked out at first because I thought it was a bug and I'm not a big fan of bugs. But then once I realized what I think it was, I was kind of really happy about it. I don't know if I would go on a show, but I like to do it by myself because I sometimes think, because they have too much experience, I feel like it would be overshadowed by what I'm experiencing, but I definitely want to at some point. If I won the lottery, I think the first thing I would do is I would take my parents overseas because they've never really been anywhere, or I would like to go to Disney World. Love Disney World. If I couldn't swim, I would definitely do field hockey. I don't really like water, so like I'm terrified at the beach and I don't drink any water. I don't drink water, soda. That's really it. My name is Lindsay Brenneman and I'm Player of the Week.
Hello and welcome to this week's segment of Between the Lines. I'm your host, Louis Mataboni. Today we will be showcasing our top plays of this recent sporting events. Let's take a look.
We have the top 5 plays for the homecoming game that happened with Kutztown. Number 5. So here we have a solid drive down the sideline with number 1, Abdul Hassan Neblit, who gets about a 35-yard advance against Shippensburg. Number 4. Here we have Colin DeGalbo with a clutch pass, putting our offense at the 20-yard line. Number 3. Colin DeGalbo with yet again a pass with number 16, Jake Novak, gaining what looks like to be about 25 yards. Number 2. Here we have a whole 55-yard run here with Abdul Hassan Neblit, where he drives down the sideline through over half the field. And number 1, last but definitely not least, here we have number 25, Nick Palmer, with an interception that just catches everyone off guard. The Shippensburg QB threw the ball at someone's head and landed right in his hands. And here we have the plays for rugby of Kutztown versus Notre Dame. Number 5, here we have number 1 for Kutztown, furiously shaking off Notre Dame's tackles. And number 4, up next we have a brutal tackle by number 11, Jake Rice. Number 3, here we have number 10, who absolutely bodies Notre Dame's number 11. Number 2.
Here we have great teamwork by Kutztown as they put some points on the board. Passes it right to number 12. And number 1. Finally, some more great teamwork here as Kutztown yet again puts points on the board. And that wraps up this week's segment of Top Plays. I'm your host, Louis Mataboni, signing off. Stay classy, Kutztown.
Well, that's all the time we have this week. Don't forget to tune in next week when we sit down with the wrestling and golf teams. Follow us on Facebook at Between the Lines, and for all KU sports, go to kubears.com. Remember, outside the lines, you only get the scores. But here, at Between the Lines, we get you inside the locker room.
KUTV on 3. 1, 2, 3.
KUTV!